another episode of Turn of the Millennials. I'm Stephanie,
I'm Lindy.
and today we are going to be talking about I guess, life and recent death of the iPod.
Yeah, end of an era for sure.
Yeah, so as you all kind of heard, this past week or so, Apple announced that they have, after 20 years, 22 years actually, of producing the iPod, the current touches that are in stores are the last ones available, and they have discontinued it completely.
hmm Which
So,
is shocking.
so shocking because, like I
Not
said,
really.
20 years of like this device of being out and around and everything, but also when you think of like the lifespan of, say, previous portable systems like the Walkman or the Discman, I don't think either of them had 20 years of a lifespan.
Oh yeah, in comparison, the iPod is like a senior, like
It
a
is.
super elderly.
Like it
But
had the longest lifespan of all of them,
yeah,
really.
and considering the way musical technology has headed or is going, like it's not really surprising
Yeah.
that they're discontinuing it. Just because like now you can get music absolutely fucking everywhere on any phone, on any device. Like
There's an app for that,
yeah,
Spotify, or like Apple Music or Google Music. Like it's
yeah.
an app for it. You don't even need to, because we'll go into more history, but you
I
had
mean,
to
like,
have
who still buys iPods these days? Because
it's
like
all in one device.
it's all in one device. Like you can't use your iPod as a phone, but you can use your phone as an iPod. Why the fuck would you have two?
The one thing I
Like,
never understood was when the iPod Touch first came out, it was basically an iPhone without the phone features. And I was
yes,
like, what is the point of this? This makes
yeah,
no sense. Just buy the freaking damn iPhone. Like, and then
yeah.
just turn off like, just don't put a SIM card in it. It's the exact same thing.
So I don't buy
Anyways,
Apple products. I've only ever had two iPods in my life, and I didn't buy either of them.
yeah.
I got
And the
them as
other problem
gifts.
with Apple products was, you had to, back in those days, is you had to have like Apple systems or iTunes to load the program, like to load the music
Yeah,
onto your iPod.
you couldn't just like,
Open a folder, drag and
yeah,
drop.
yeah, you couldn't go into like your Samsung Music or your music folder on your laptop and just add the music. Like you had to have the viable,
You
like
had to
proper
load,
Apple files or whatever. And
well,
that's one
not it
another reason why I fucking hate Apple, because they're like, no, you have to spend your extra money in order to actually use our products.
at first.
Like,
They did eventually change because they've realized that, like, when they first came out,
oh,
they
did they? Did
realized,
they realize they were fucking robbing people blind, and other people, and then people could get other technology and other items for the exact same fucking reason, but for free?
and people were starting to jailbreak their, like, not jailbreak, but they were starting to like convert, because they would have MP3s on their own computers, and then they buy iPhones. So what they would do is they somehow, like, when it first came out, you had to convert it into iTunes and then load it in.
Yeah.
Now I think you can just take your MP3s, well, load them. And then also you originally had to only buy music through the iTunes store to upload
Mm-hmm.
to your iPod. So it was another reason
Yeah.
why a lot of people didn't buy them at first as well, was because if you didn't have it, iTunes and stuff like that, like my dad hated that. He hated Apple forever, and he refused to buy one because of that reason. It was not easy, user friendly, or anything like that.
I agree,
So,
Perry. Good job.
right? My dad was always super big on technology, so
Oh
like,
yeah, he's super tech savvy. Like he knows
if he
what's
couldn't
going on.
figure it out, then it was annoying.
Yeah.
So, good on you, Dad. But before we go into too much of the history of the iPod, let's get into our
Millennial moments.
So, what
Just
is
add
your
that.
millennial moment for today or this week,
Um,
Lindy?
so I was watching, I actually got this one yesterday because I was flicking through Netflix and like just trying to find something to watch before I landed on Bridgerton. Oh my fucking God. Love it. I'm flipping through and I see like I'm watching these previews of like these movies, and I only recognize the old people. I don't know any actor like under the age of fucking 40 these days.
Oh my
None
gosh.
whatso fucking ever. Because I'm like, I watched a preview for some new animated movie. I don't remember what it was. Oh, Luck with
Oh,
Simon
okay.
Pegg. Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
so the girl that comes, the human that walks into the Luck world or whatever, she says a few lines, whatever. I was like, her voice sounds really familiar. I was like, I think that's so and so. I don't remember who it is now, but so I looked it up on IMDb and I'm going through it. I'm like, okay, I know that star, I know that star. And then I get to the younger people in the movie. And I'm like, I have no fucking clue who these people are. I've never heard of these people. when I'm flipping through my Facebook and I see like Much Music or MTV's Facebook feeds, and they're talking about all like yesterday, who was the rapper, the really young rapper that passed? Little Keed. So I'm like, I don't fucking know who this is. I have no idea. Like, I didn't know who Dua Lipa was until like a month ago. Like,
I know who that is, but that Little Keed, I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard that name before. But yeah, Dua Lipa, I have heard. I don't know many of her songs, but I've heard her name a lot.
I told Riley, remember when you were over a couple weekends ago to do my hair?
Yeah.
And I played that one song for you that I was like, oh, this is a new-ish song that I really, really like. And it turned out that it was an original from Olivia Rodrigo. Was it her?
Yeah, good for you. Yep.
Yeah, good for you. But I have a different version of it because it was the only reason I found it was because I enhanced my Spotify list.
Yeah.
And it came up with this version. I've never heard the song before, never heard it on the radio or anything. So I play it for you. Yeah, you're like, yeah, that's Olivia Rodrigo. So I told Riley this story. She goes, how did you not know that? And I'm like, because I'm fucking old, okay?
But did you also mention to her that Olivia Rodrigo's, the chorus of that song is basically a ripoff of Misery Business?
No, because I didn't know that.
I did say that. I mentioned that to you when we were there as well. So in her chorus, like if you listen to the way the chorus goes of that song, it sounds like, whoa, I never meant to brag. I got it where I want it now. Whoa. That one?
Yeah.
Paramore, Misery Business. Those two choruses sound the exact same.
I'm going to have to listen to that.
No, there's TikToks. There's people have put the
I'm
two
not on
together.
TikTok. I don't care TikTok.
No, but it doesn't matter. There's people. I'm saying that there's TikToks, that there's a video, so you can see them all on YouTube and stuff. The comparisons are there, and you listen. Like they'll play her, like they'll play a line from hers, then a line from the next, and then a line from the like, and they literally interchange them, and you're like, yeah, those sound like the exact same song. It's crazy.
But yeah, so
we're old. That's what that is.
So like moral of the story, I don't know any young actors these days.
Right.
I don't.
Do you know Zendaya?
I was actually literally just gonna say the youngest one I know is probably Zendaya.
And Tom
I saw
Hiddleston or whatever.
I saw a bunch of pictures. Tom Hiddleston is Loki. You're talking about Tom Holland?
That's it, Tom Holland.
Spider-Man? Yeah.
I was like, the other name that came was Middleditch, and I was like, that's not him. Who is it?
That's Thomas Middleditch from Zombieland 2.
Yeah.
he was Flagstaff. But I saw a Selena Gomez's post Facebook feed came across my page the other day, and I looked at her pictures. She's so beautiful. I'm just like, God, you were so grown up. She's just so adult, and she was wearing like a really beautiful like adult like dress, and I'm just like, you're just so far from like little girly face from Alex Russo now that I'm like, I don't feel like I'm only like 8 fucking years older than you. Right. I feel like I should be 50 when you're like 30, and I'm just fuck.
I know. Oh my god.
And I'm just like, oh my god, it's so fucking old.
No, the worst is when I'm seeing people on my Facebook saying they have like 15-year-olds or their kids are about to graduate from high school. That hurts.
Now that we got on the topic, I'm just gonna tell you one more of my millennial moments just because it came up.
Right. I still have mine as well, so don't worry.
I know. That I know of, my first friend from high school is a grandparent. At
the age of 39 or 40?
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
I'm not sure if it's a stepchild or if it's her child or
that's still
whatever,
hurts.
But I was like, you're a grandma now? Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. Because then I think like if I had a baby at 16, that baby would be 22. And if that 22-year-old had a baby, I would be a grandmother.
Like it's not hard, or even if they waited till 20 and they could have same thing, like they waited till 22, they could possibly have a 16-year-old now. But like, it's really weird.
The only good thing about that is that these kids these days, like I know more kids these days that know their great grandparents more than when we were kids. Like when we were kids, when I was a kid, like all of our great grandparents had already passed.
I think I had
like not a lot of people knew their great grandparents.
I think I had
almost
one left.
Everybody does.
And then the other funny thing is you also learn more about your family because I found out that my grandpa, my dad's dad, and even my dad didn't even really know this, was a almost professional baseball player.
Interesting.
But
That's
he had
cool.
his career got canned when the war happened, and he had to go to war. And then so we don't know if
Oh,
it was like the PTSD or the fact that like that it got ruined because of this, but he never talked about it even to his kids throughout this. And then my
sure, it's the
uncle,
PTSD.
right. And also you could be very angry because like I had this great career and then the fucking stupid war ended my career. Like I could see why there's a
Maybe
lot of
pretty
things.
bitter about it. Yeah,
Right.
I could see that. I would be too.
There's lots of things that come into play that I can understand. But it was just
Yeah.
funny that like both of his sons didn't even really know this until years after he passed. He died in 94 and I
Well,
think my
because it's
uncle
probably
just found this out like maybe within the last decade. So almost 20 years went by before anyone found this out.
well, it's probably like a point of contention too. Like he
No.
doesn't
Yeah.
want to talk about it because it's probably it was probably heartbreaking for him.
But it's just one of the things like you said, like
What's the
it's
point of dredging it up again, right?
but this is like their parents and they didn't
Yeah.
even know. So you see like yes, our kids are starting to get to know their great grandparents. So it's just even like even in just a generation or so that they didn't even know their own parents fully. And that's some things that we kind of want to know. Like we want to know our parents before they pass or things like that because so yeah, like I said, it's just interesting of that dynamic sort of.
So, what made you feel old this week, Steph?
I don't know if that made me feel old, but it was definitely an interesting moment.
Ha moment.
A haha weird moment. So back in like the 90s, when I guess voicemail, not even voicemail, call like the machines where you had a tape and
It wasn't on your phone.
it wasn't on your phone.
You
It
actually
wasn't in
had tapes.
it wasn't in the cloud sphere, nothing. It was a tape you had to put in for I wasn't even it was called voicemail back then. What was it? Oh my God, what's
Just
the
an answering machine.
The answering machine, yeah.
Just an answering machine, yeah.
So they weren't even voicemails, guys. They were just called answering machines, and you had a tape, and then on your tape you had obviously what the outgoing messages is, so that people would know who they're calling and stuff like that. And it's funny because I was listening to a song by Blake Shelton called Austin, and literally the chorus is him leaving these outgoing voice messages for Austin if she calls, like it's Tuesday night, it's bowling, I'm here, but PS if this is Austin, I still love you. And then I just made me think like we don't use voicemail or anything like that anymore. We don't make outgoing messages the same way before. Like most people, like you even said before this, don't even answer their voicemails. They don't do anything. Some of them don't even register it. Like it's all part of your packages usually nowadays of your cell phone packages. And most people don't even initiate it. It's just like you call and it's like, this person has not initiated service, blah, blah, all these different things. And yet in the 90s, it was so popular to make outgoing ones. Like we were also talking about, sorry, I'm not home right now. I'm walking into Spider Labs. Leave a message and I'll call you back.
Yeah, we would leave like, and we wouldn't even say it too. Like we'd play the song and just hold our phone up to
it,
the
or
speaker,
like, or even in these songs, they write about their outgoing voice messages to people. And like, I also remember, I think it's Big Daddy or one of the Adam Sandler ones. He's like, there's a song playing in the background in the chorus, and he voices, there's like, leave a message over top of it. But still, like you do these crazy weird. Or you might
and now it's literally like you've reached this number. I can't get to my phone. Leave a message at the beep.
Or hey, you've reached Steph. Message.
Yeah.
Beep. But yeah,
so
we used to put so much work into it, or like plan it. And it's funny how we've just gotten so lazy in that respect.
If you're ever watching One Tree Hill and you hear someone's outgoing message on their voicemail, it's usually like, you've reached Peyton. Congratulations. Leave a message at the beep. Because and a few of them, like at one point, Haley's voicemail says that. At one point, Lucas's voicemail says that. Like, they all have the same fucking outgoing voicemail message. I personally never fucking check my voicemail. Barely ever.
Me neither.
Like I said, they're all fucking scam calls. They're all blocked calls. Collectors that are not collecting, not after me, but other people that used to have my phone number like a year ago, and they still fucking keep calling me. And I have told them that it's no longer their number. So
or your parents leave a voicemail and they just call you back 5 minutes later.
Yes, like your parents will leave a voicemail and then they'll hang up and then they'll call you back. And then they'll leave another voicemail and then they'll hang up and then they'll call you back. And they'll just keep doing that until they fucking get a hold of you. And it's like, stop it. Just text me. This could have been
a text message. Literally.
Like this could have been an email.
Right? We did not need a Zoom call for this. This could have just been an email, guys. Come on. Story of our lives nowadays in this era.
So iPods.
Now, yes, on to the iPod.
Do you remember all like the iPod stuff that used to come out, like the little onesies, the baby onesies, where it's like iPod,
yeah, all of the different, there was so much
poop loading.
There was just so many different, like, they were just made fun of. So the iPod was.
So shall we get into the history?
Yeah, let's get into it. Now, MP3s were still kind of a thing prior to the iPod. The iPod was not the first MP3 player. So the first MP3 player was actually a brand called MP Man. I don't remember it.
I don't either.
But I do personally remember. I had to ask my sister if she remembered the brand or anything. I remember living on. We were in grade 7 or grade 8, so it would have been across from Glen Forest or behind Glen Forest, Silverbridge. We were living on there in middle school, and I remember my dad bought us MP3 players, and it had expandable up to 32 megabytes. And this was grade 8, I think it was. So this was about 98, 99. It was a Sanyo MP3 player. And yeah, I think we got like 5 or 6 songs on it or something like that.
Sanyo, you said?
Sanyo, yeah.
Oh, that's an old fucking
right? That's an old
yeah.
brand. Like, I don't even know like if they're even still around anymore. And it was this little gray thing. It just had like a little screen, 4 buttons. That was it. And had the possibility to expand for 32 megabytes. 32 megabytes.
How many songs
y'all.
would that be?
I think like 6.
Whoa. Kind of like those fucking
hit clips. Yes, almost. So they came out. So we got our MP3 player, and then maybe a couple months later, those hit clips came out. But the other thing about the hit clips is they only paid like 30 seconds of the song. You didn't really get the full song. So I thought those things were stupid. So flash forward to October 2001, the iPod.
2001.
The iPod was officially released, and it, like I said, it was discontinued just last week, so like May 10th or something, 2022. It is the oldest brand to be discontinued by Apple at this point. So no other brand has outlasted the iPod at Apple.
This iPod is old enough to order its own scotch.
Right? It's old enough to drink, guys. Like,
yeah.
how
in
old
the
is
States. In the
States.
It's been legal age to drink in Canada for
3 years.
4 or 3 years, depending on
depending if you're in Quebec. Yeah, if you're in Quebec or Ontario.
Alberta as well.
18 as well? Oh, okay.
Yeah. BC might be 2, I'm not sure.
They understand, you know.
Yeah, we get it.
Right? You're 18. It's fine. You can do it.
It's old, guys. That's
right?
our point.
So like we said, this was kind of the next sort of step in the portable media player space. Obviously, we had the Walkman with the portable cassettes in kind of like the 80s and 90s. Then I think like early 90s, we transitioned into the Discmans, portable CD players.
Can I just interject for 1 second about that? So I saw a post on Facebook the other day talking about their Walkmans, and they showed a picture of a Discman. And I was going to comment and be like, that's not a fucking Walkman. It's a fucking Discman, because Walkmans are cassettes. But the Discman said Walkman right on it.
It was the Walkman. So what it was is
Sony
had the like Walkman line of the portable things.
So Sony was the name brand?
It was kind of. So
okay.
So what it was is that it was their portable line. The Walkman was their portable line. Because I gotta remember, like back then we didn't have a lot of portable stuff. So Sony was making lots of home equipment, electronics and stuff. So the Walkman was the first portable sort of thing. So when they transitioned from like when cassettes were kind of getting old and CDs were coming in, they took this Walkman line, and then so it is a Walkman line, but they called it, like everyone would call it the Discman because
it's a Discman. Yeah.
And also when someone was talking about their Walkman, there was still a time where you had cassettes and CDs. People were using one or the other. No one.
I did. Yeah. I was using both at the same time.
So some people would be like, "Oh, I got my Walkman," and then some people like think, "Oh, the cassette versus." So I think people
just pull out your Discman and be like, "That's a fucking Discman, guys. Come on."
Yeah. So I think Walkman was really the line of their portable players.
Yeah. Like you don't pull out your Walkman and say, "I got a Casio."
Right.
Like
you're not saying, "Oh, let me pull out my Casio portable CD player."
Let me pull out my Panasonic cassette tape player.
You called it, like in general, they'd be called Walkman, but it was only that was a Sony branded thing. Like iPod. Everyone called an MP3 player an iPod at a certain point. Well, no, it's not. That's not an iPod. That is a, Casio or Sony version of an MP3 player, but you lump it all in together. So same with kind of the Walkman thing. It became sort of the lump of all of those. Lindy's green iPod.
Actually, this one is Aaron's.
Oh, Aaron's green iPod.
Because I told him the other day that we were talking about iPods on this episode.
Yep.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to have one. It was a Samsung and it was this." And I was like, "Yeah, we still have it." He goes, "No, we don't." I was like, "Yeah, it's in my nail polish box." He's like, "Why is it in your nail polish box?" I don't fucking know. But it is. There. Same with my old iPod Nano Shuffle case. the case. I still have the case of it, like the tiny little square case that my iPod Shuffle came in.
Yeah.
I have it. I don't know where my iPod Shuffle is.
That's
no
hilarious.
fucking clue.
It just disappeared.
But I played really inappropriate songs broadcast across the restaurant when I worked at the inn in Alberta, because there was no fucking radio. So I just plugged mine into the stereo. And sometimes you got hit with Baby Got Back.
That's sometimes not bad, though.
Sometimes you got hit with uncensored Eminem.
People enjoy it. It's fine.
I maybe one time in the year that I was working there, I had one person pull me over and was like, "Can you change the song? It's a little inappropriate." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. I didn't even notice." Change the song. That was it.
And when you're working, you don't notice. It just becomes background anyways to you.
Yeah. But it was a pretty heavily
not
swear word filled song.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it was an Eminem. So I was like Stan or something, I think.
Right. I wrote you, but you still ain't calling.
Yeah. Seen that a lot on Facebook too.
Right. As we said, so the iPod was manufactured by Apple. They kind of found that they needed to fill a gap in the market, as at the time they found other MP3 players were kind of clunky or not really user friendly. A lot of, like, they had to have expandable memories or things like that to make it, like, it was just it wasn't user friendly. Wasn't
really that convenient.
Right.
For what it's supposed to, for how convenient it's supposed to be, it wasn't convenient.
But also at the same time, this, gotta remember, guys, this is 99 2000, where we were still at a very forefront of MP3s. So no one had streamlined yet. They were all still the wild west of what needed to be figured. So Apple just, streamlined it and made it a little nicer, because that's how they do. They make things very pretty. So the OG, or the original classic iPod, had 5 gigabytes, and they said, like, this was how they kind of marketed it, was that it could hold 1,000 songs in your pocket. And I mean, for 99 2000, when your CDs only carried like 20 songs, maybe max, if
depending
you were
on how long the songs were, it only had an X amount of minutes.
It only had an X amount of minutes. So depending how, like, if you were lucky, you could fit maybe 20 songs on it, maybe 15, maybe 12. It all depends.
I remember one CD I got like 23 songs on it, and I was like, not Brad.
Like, it depended, but it all depended on if they had like some interludes where it was like 20, 30-minute songs in it or something that made you get more. Like, I think Christina's Dirty had like 21, but there was a couple of 30-second songs in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw that in. So yeah, 1,000 songs. Everyone was kind of like, dude, 1,000 songs in my pocket. That's pretty.
You didn't have to carry around your book of CDs
like you had to in your car and everything like that. So yeah, the original one kind of came out. It was a white standard, whatever. Had your headphones out.
Want to know what it looks like? Just fucking Google it.
So
or maybe we'll add a picture to it.
Yeah. So it wasn't the iPod. Now they've relabeled it as the classic, because Apple, like they like to do sometimes, is have lots of varieties for everybody and all kinds of. No, that's not true. They don't like.
They've had so many variations of this fucking iPod.
So not even just.
I'm gonna Google that right now. I'm gonna find out how many. You keep talking.
I do know. So the lines that they had, I wrote them all down. So we had iPods later called the Classic. They had 6 generations. The first iPod Mini had 2 generations, and that's what introduced colors to the iPod, because the first iPod was just a white and silver. The iPod Minis, you could get them in like blue or pink and stuff like that. And then, so we had 2001, the first iPod. 2004, the first iPod Mini came out. 2005, the first iPod Nano came out, which had replaced the Mini, and that had 7 generations. The 2005, the first iPod Shuffle came out that had 4 generations. This one was a smaller one that was more designed for people like who wanted to work out. So the first one had like a necklace that you could put it over your neck, and a couple of the other ones had clips after. So again, more targeted for people who wanted to do runs or workouts and things like that.
Yep.
And then in 2007, the first iPod Touch was released, which I said is basically the iPhone without the phone features. That had 7 generations, and that was basically what has been made until it was just discontinued last week. 7 generations.
There are 26 different models.
Right?
Or there's 5 different models that have several different variations or generations. And so there are 26 in total.
In 22 years, guys.
In 22 years, 26 different fucking iPods. I had the 4th generation Classic.
Yep.
Because I got it as a Christmas or a birthday gift. And then a few years after that, I got the iPod Nano Shuffle for Christmas. So I only ever had 2 of the iPods.
I agree with you as well. Well, sort of, kind of like, so, okay, what had happened? So, like I said, at the Playground Inspection and Company was when I bought my first Mini because I was a bus. I didn't have my license at then, even though I was 19. I still didn't have my license. I had my G1. We have a stupid graduated system up here. So I had my G1, which I got just
Your
before my
beginners.
19th, which is your beginners. I got it right before my 19th birthday because I needed ID for the bar. And it literally took me 5 years to get my G2 because I was living on my own. I didn't have the extra money to buy a car. So what was the point of getting my license?
And not only that, like pretty much all your friends had cars. Like all
Exactly.
your friends drove, so there was no really, you didn't really need it.
So exactly. So I didn't, and our busing system here is actually
Our
pretty
public
okay.
transportation system in Waterloo was pretty good.
So I wasn't in desperate need of it. I did get it by the time I was 24 because I got my G2 and then a month later I got my car.
I'm pretty sure you got sick of me teasing you about not having your license.
It's just well, no, what it was is it was about to expire.
Oh yeah, you had to.
And
yeah,
I had to renew. I had to go and either renew it again on my G1. No, what it was is you couldn't renew it. So when you got your G2, you could renew your G2 for 5 years. So our graduated system is stupid. You have 5 years to apparently complete it. So you get your G1, your G2, and then your full G. And you have 5 years to complete this. If you get your G1 and it's about to expire, and say your G2. So I was able to, like, I had 2 months left on my 5 years of my G1. So I got my G2 and you could renew it one time for 5 years, which gave you another 5 years to go get your full G. So renewed my G2, got my license, got my G2, I should say, like with like 2 months to spare. Waited 5 more years to go and get my full G. So G1, you can only drive with a licensed driver. Your G2, you can drive by yourself. So when you got my G2, 5 years driving by myself, I didn't freaking care, whatever.
I think the only stipulation on G2 that you couldn't do was like teach someone else how to drive. You could not drive. You couldn't be
and no alcohol whatsoever in your system.
Zero tolerance to alcohol. There's no minimum limit. Like it is zero across the board. And then you couldn't teach a G1 person to drive, which I did. I taught you and Katie.
You did. It doesn't matter. So it don't matter. So then with 2 weeks to spare, I got my G. So if I had failed my G road test, I would have been screwed because you have a 2-week waiting period before you can book your next G test.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been screwed. So it took me 10 years to get my full license.
It's like I got my G1 at 17, my G2 at 19, and my G at I think 24. It was 05 because we were working at Jepsy when I got my G. Because I remember how fucking nervous I was, and it was like right after my birthday or something. Yeah. It was in July. And it was literally like your G2 exit test, which is like you're getting your G, your full license, is literally like one of like the most nerve-wracking driving tests I've experienced.
So this all leads to the fact that I got my first iPod mini because I had to take the bus to work every day.
Oh yeah, that's how we related.
That's how we related this. So I got my first iPod mini. And it was originally the silver one, but then it broke or something. So I had to, it was like in a month or two or something. So I went back and I returned it. And then I got the blue one. And then I think I had that one for a few years. And then I got the pink one, I think, after the blue one went. I had the blue one for a few years. And then I got the pink one.
I got the pink Nano Shuffle. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about the Nano Shuffle is that it came with a clip on the back.
Yes.
So you could literally just clip it to your shirt or your pants, your pocket. You could just clip it somewhere.
That was the later one. The original Shuffle actually had a necklace piece because Fraser had that one. Actually, he bought that one. It had a necklace piece to go over your necklace. I don't recall that one. And then also Nokia, which Fraser also had when we were dating, had the bar phone that was the first phone to have iTunes on it. So they were trying to.
Well, now we're just aging ourselves,
right? Like I think that was the first phone where they were trying to like sort of integrate music into phone, where it's portable and your phone. Mm-hmm. So they had this Nokia bar phone that had iTunes integrated into it. It didn't work terribly, but that was something that did happen, and I guess intro to what we sort of have now. We also had the other competitors, which we know we hear a lot of, the Microsoft Zune. The Creative Zen, the SanDisk Sansa, Sony's Walkman, they had their own version of one.
Yep.
iRiver and Samsung's Yep. So
some of these
other ones that were competing.
Some of these knockoffs, some of these like non-iPod brand iPods were interesting.
Yes.
They're very interesting looking, like this one.
Right.
I find it really weird.
Like somewhere, like there were some that like literally you could tell all they wanted to do was rip off the iPod.
Yeah.
And then there were others where they were like, no, we're just gonna make our own MP3.
Yes.
Those weird, yeah, the weird unbranded iPod. Like there's some that like literally just tried to like be unbranded and knock off the iPods. And
Yeah.
then there were other ones that were like, no, we're just gonna do our own thing. So like those slimline, like the Sony ones where it's like this long and they're really slim and stuff like that.
Where they were literally like not even an inch wide.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
like
Almost like a flash drive size.
yeah, like they were like a long flash drive.
Yes, really
Which
tiny.
I found really weird.
Right. Like, and I guess maybe they wanted them to fit in your pocket better
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. But
Do you know what I did?
I was going to
Sorry,
say
go
also
ahead.
the funny, weird labelings like it's underscore all, it's underscore good dot MP3 or whatever it was. Like, or the weird.
Or where
meaning.
like what was that meme I saw the other day about the Death Cab for Cutie one, where it's like it'll
Death
show
Cab,
several different files for the same band if it's not typed exactly the same way. Like if like Death Cab for Cutie, it's all capitalized, and then the next one doesn't have capitals, and then the next one only has a few capitals. Like you're gonna have like several different files for the same fucking band. Like
or some will have like just Death Cab, and then that's like Death Cab for Cutie, or like some like they won't complete the titles and the names, and the like some have underscores, some have.
It was really hard to keep your songs alphabetized because of shit like that.
Or how many times did you download something and it was not the right, like someone labeled it incorrectly and it wasn't the right song, or it wasn't the right artist, or like I don't know,
or the file was empty,
right? I don't know how many times I've heard a song and I'm like, I love this song, and then I go to find it like now and it's like that's not even the artist it was some totally different. But I was like, but that was Taking Back Sunday, that's what my file said all these years, and it's actually like the user, and you're like, what? Not that I know the difference between the two of them, but that's besides the point. I'm just trying to give a weird example.
It's an example, yeah.
Just an example, yeah.
What I love most about my fourth generation iPod was I could watch movies on mine.
That is true. Once you got to the later like iPod Nanos or Shuffles or iPod Touches, they added in those like movie features and stuff,
like,
or like video features.
I was actually surprised, like not then because it was in real time. It didn't really occur to you, but 22 years later, I thinking about it, I was like, so I got that iPod, I think like Christmas of 05. And then in 07, in the summer of 07, when me and Danielle went to England, I knew like my jet lag was going to be super fucking bad and I wasn't going to be able to sleep at all. So I loaded my iPod with movies so I could watch movies on my tiny little 1 square inch fucking screen. Right. Do you know how hard it is to watch Newsies?
Yes.
On a tiny little fucking square that big? It's so hard.
Any movie on a square that big is going to be difficult. Let's be real.
Not to mention compare like having like the volume and the sound, trying to compare with your sister snoring. Sorry, Danny, had to mention it.
I know. I'm going to the
iPods.
In 2004, also, so as we were talking about kind of the Nokia had a phone with iTunes in it. In 2004, there was actually an HP branded iPods released. And they only lasted a year because I guess so Apple allowed HP to do some like they did a contract together to allow them to do some, but I guess HP didn't like the terms and conditions that Apple had put on them. So these branded ones only lasted a year. Mm-hmm. So if you have one of those, that could be kind of interesting. And then in 2006, I don't know if you remember this one, there was the U2 edition iPod. So it came with a black backing with the band signatures engraved on it. It had 30 gigabytes of storage. And it was like all the ads were with U2's like songs and stuff in it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Right? Yeah. So that was kind of a big, huge cross thing. And then also, I don't know if this was around the same time or if it was a few years later when U2 also put that album in everybody's iTunes, like they gave away that free album in everybody's iTunes account or whatever, and people were like, why are you putting a free album in my iTunes account? This is not cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So, I don't know.
Can I just make a comment though? That the first iPod, I guess I just looked it up right now. They went on sale November 10th, 2001, and for $399 US.
That makes sense. For 5 gigabytes, guys.
For 5 gigabytes.
But we all know they like to price their stuff pretty good. Pretty good.
That's why Lindy is not an Apple product user.
But at the same point, you got to give it to them because even though you pay that large amount, they still last a long fucking time.
They
Like I know people with
definitely
like Apple laptops that have lasted them like 5,
like
6,
they
7, 8
definitely
years and more.
paved the way for this technology and everything. So like I'll definitely give them that, and they can make them that cost this much because they fucking can.
Yeah.
It's their product. They can put whatever fucking price they want on it, whatever, go ahead.
And
I'm
their
not
name,
fucking paying it.
Fortune magazine actually called Apple's iPod the 21st century Walkman. So, like, as we were kind of saying, it is the predecessor of it. Walkman was the predecessor of the iPod. Sorry. Getting my words, mixed around a bit here. So, the peak sales for iPods ran between 2005 to 2007. Or 2005 to 2008. And 2008 was actually the highest sales. April 9th, 2007, they were announced that 100 million iPods had been sold, and it is the best-selling digital player of all time.
I do have to contribute that to their iconic commercials.
Right?
My name is K. A, 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 A.
And then you had the 1, 2, 3, 4,
tell
love
me
me
more.
more. Right? Like, I think that one, like, I hated that song at first.
I love that song.
Because
so
that commercial got paid so often. I got so annoyed with it.
But the commercials were amazing.
Like, it was colors. So bright and it's colorful and everything. I loved that.
They
like,
had the black
now
silhouette,
I like the song.
The black silhouette of the
shadow dancers
with the white earbuds in their ears holding the white iPod. Like everything was so vibrant and poppy, and they were great commercials. Like
they were.
Good job advertisement team on that one. Well, did not work on me. Obviously, I did not buy one. I had them, but I did not buy them.
Yeah, but but the thing is, advertising isn't always necessarily to buy it right away. They also want to put that in, like, okay, you might not buy it right now, but you're gonna remember, like, so when you go into, say, the store and you see like an iPod, you're gonna be like, 1, 2, 3, 4. So like the advertising, yes, they want you to buy it, but it might not be right in that minute. It might be something that keeps lingering in your head so that you remember it, like sticks in your
catchy jingles. Yeah,
exactly.
Kind of like I will never forget 310 heat. Too cool or heat, call 310 heat, will be there right away. I love that one. And they never fucking play it anymore. Or say it with me, Steph. Fabric Land.
Right? Like there's so many jingles out there that I don't know.
None of these companies have sponsored our podcast, by the way.
Right. There's another one that's in Guelph. It's some furniture company, and I just know that there's an annoying voice of like Esmeralda, and she's like, Mitch. Don't know anything else about the place, but I just know that their commercials is always this annoying.
Or
Mitch.
Or they're like, you gotta go to Goman's.
Right, like exactly.
Yeah.
Like
you need a catchy jingle. You need a good song that everyone is gonna hear in their head when they see your product. That's good.
Or they see your name or even like they're like, oh well, what do I need? I need to buy fabric. Where am I gonna go? Fabric Land. Like exactly.
Fabric Land. Yeah. And you can't not just say it once. You have to say it twice.
You have to.
It's a Canadian law. Like you have to.
That's like, and I love the Desjardins ads that are around here where it says it's pronounced Weber, not Weber.
Oh, I love those.
We know, like they're like,
if it was Weber, it would have 2 B's.
Right, I love it, but it's like Desjardins agents in your area. No, and it's like exactly. If someone here calls it Webby, you're like, you're not from around here. Get out of here.
You're an out of towner.
Get out of here. It's pronounced Weber, not Weber.
Yeah.
And on that note, so yes, lots of iconic commercials. Those shadow dancers for like used forever over them. Yeah. Many different versions. Sometimes it was just black and white, but it was always the iPod was always kind of. It was a white iPod on these black shadow dancers.
Yeah, so like I remember the really colorful one was when like they brought out like their array of
shuffles
ones,
or whatever.
Shuffles,
yeah. Or the nanos or whatever, the minis or whatever they were.
They did really good advertisement team. I'll give them that.
And then basically, they've said that Apple iPods have redefined how music is discovered, listened to, and shared. But also, I was reading an article today that's saying that possibly this iPod and the MP3 is also a little bit of like the downfall of like music, sort of, just because of the digital era. And now we don't. So basically, because of the way that iPods came out, we no longer think of music as something to listen to. It's something to consume. Same with like Netflix and stuff that like we'll spend hours choosing. So like choosing has now become an act instead of before it was just like, okay, well, this is a you know, you have one or two. Now we have to like choosing is an activity. You spend 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes finding a song to listen to, finding a podcast to listen to, finding a movie to watch.
I could spend hours putting together a playlist.
Exactly. So this article is kind of saying that like it redefined how we consume music now, or consume in general, because before, like, it was, you had to show up at this, like, we didn't have as many options. It was like, this CD came out on this date, you could only listen to these songs, it had to be, or unless you made your own, but like everything was very defined around this limit of a CD, this time frame of what's on TV, this limits.
Now we have more variety, more choices,
no limits on anything.
Limits. We are consuming things at such a higher rate now than we ever fucking were,
and we have so much more choices that people can't make choice, like they can't actually make one choice because we have so many choices, and we have the FOMO and everything like that they're afraid they're gonna miss out. Like, yeah, so this is kind of like an intro as to like how we sort of, the digital space has changed how we've done everything, let's be real.
Which is why like I not only pity, but I also kind of envy today's younger generation, because they have so many facilities to listen and consume so much media that, like,
you feel overwhelmed. I don't know how
to, like, because like I will look at the younger generation, like my almost 16-year-old stepson, that I'm just like, you still have so much more music, movies, and TV shows to discover from the past. Because like, yeah, you're consuming today's music and everything, and you love today's music, but you still have music from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like all of those like eras and decades to discover. And you have so many ways to do that now, but a lot of them don't care or don't want to. Whereas, and I loved consuming my parents' old albums.
Which is kind of interesting actually as well, that you say this whole consuming, as some of these older generations, like, so like say the people who would have listened to the 40s and like 40s, I know boomers kind of 50s, but 30s, 40s, and a little bit of the 50s music, as they start to die off, and like if we didn't consume it, like those kind of go like like they kind of
like by the time
nowadays. Because there used to be on Sirius XM, they used to have like 30s on 3, 40s on 4. Well, those are
90s on 9.
Those are starting to, like, I don't think 30s and 3 is there anymore, because a lot of those people have started to pass on. So
the last time I had XM radio, it was the lowest channel was 5, 50s on 5.
Yeah.
4 was like a new age playlist. So.
Or I think it's Soul Cycle now or something like that or whatever. But that's exactly like, as those generations are dying off, some of that music, not that it disappears, but it's just, it doesn't get consumed at the same rate unless you're like someone who's really into it. So like, if you think about it, like even stuff like Bach or, you know, classical music, unless you're kind of into playing an instrument, most times you don't go looking for or exploring that stuff on your own.
I only got into classical music as a kid because my dad played it on the piano.
Exactly. So unless you're playing an instrument, a lot of times you don't find it. So like if your parents aren't listening to the old 30s, 40s, 50s, you might not ever learn to discover it. And because we're consuming music, like I said, we're consuming, like the kids are consuming it differently. So like they may never find that old record or old CD that we pulled out to put in. So it's going to be weird to see if those completely die off in the next few years, or if these kids will still find them and they'll still be these iconic bands going forward.
That's a really good point, because
like the Beatles, I know that they're iconic, but like I don't know many younger kids that are finding the Beatles. Unless
I don't know many younger kids that are taking the initiative to look at older music.
Yes.
Because like when I was a kid, when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, around whatever, I would be the one to go through my dad's album and be like, hey, can we listen to this? Hey, can we listen to this? He's like, yeah, sure. Like my parents definitely exposed me to their music.
Yeah.
But I took the initiative to want to listen to more and to discover more, where I don't think kids these days care to listen to older music because it's so fucking in the past. Like it's
think
like only, except for like the select few that are old souls and things like that. Like,
or they
Riley
just love
really,
music,
like,
or they
Riley
just love
really
music
likes,
and want to consume and learn it all. Like
Riley likes our old classical stuff. Like she likes our AC/DC and like, sorry, it's the only band I can think about. I just, whatever. It's tired. It's early.
Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, or whatever.
Jackson, like she will listen to that stuff and she likes that stuff, whereas an Aiden could care fucking less.
And then the other thing, The other thing also, which is funny about like
he likes the old hip hop. He likes old hip hop, but he will not go out on his own to discover other.
But even like these
genres.
kids in the new realm, it's like, okay, they hear the song and like, oh, the song's so awesome. I love this song. And then it's like, that was sampled from this song. Oh, well, I don't really care. That song's so stupid. And it's like, I understand, because that same thing, I sort of had some of that mentality. But at the other part, my dad also told me that, like, yes, I understand you might not like my song, but at the same time, without my original song, your song would not exist. So you at least have to respect this original version. And a lot of the kids don't do that. They're just like, well, your song sucks. And it's like, okay, fine, but you won't have your song without my song, so at least respect the original version, kids. Like, or they won't go searching for what the original version is and want to hear what the original. Like, so again, they're, like I said, they're not seeking out that old music.
I've had this conversation with Aiden quite a few times where he'll be listening to a song or he'll put on a song or something, and I'm like, "Are you fucking?" I was like, "They fucking sampled from so and so." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "This is not fucking new. Like, this song is a ripoff of this song." And he was like, "No, it's not." And I was like, "Have you like
listened to music?
Like, ever listened to older music?
Any music?
Anything older than today?" He's like, "Well, no, not really." I was like, "Okay, I can appreciate your appreciation for your type of music, but you need to acknowledge the fact that your music, one, would not exist without our music and our parents' music and their parents' music.
Yes.
And number two, the majority of your fucking music these days is
rip-offs.
Not original. Not fucking original.
A lot of rip-offs.
They're all remakes. They're all rip-offs. They're all
reimagined or like something. They're all taken from something else.
A handful of new music out there that is actually entirely new music. There's only a finite amount of different variations of notes that exist in the world.
There's only so many chords out there, yes, that you're gonna, which I always found funny with some of those like court cases where they're like, oh, you sampled my song, and it's like, they used this chord, which is a chord that is always in everything.
Something else that I just remembered that my iPod could do was play Snake.
Yeah, I remember they had games on them at one point. Yeah, like not great games, but
I killed it. Games. I also had ping pong too.
Yes, I played that one on mine all the time, the ping pong or pong.
Pong, sorry, it's Pong.
Right?
I played Pong on an original Atari in the old arcade gaming section of a museum in England when Danielle and I went. There's a picture of it. I was wearing my Yoshi is my homeboy shirt.
So I remember, what was it? Maybe probably around like 2008 or something like that. I remember going to the Ford Museum in Michigan. And they have like a section, so it's not just all the cars, but they have a section that's kind of like a history sort of section in there as well. And they had one where it was like 50s, 60s, and like all the things of those eras. And they had a 90s one, and there was a Nintendo 64 in it. And I was like, and this was 2008. This was still like 14 years ago. And I'm like, am I so old that that's in there? And then in my memories the other day, it came up about the Wii was from like 2006 release or something. And I was like, I still remember getting that with Danielle. How was that like 16 years ago? Oh my gosh.
Because they had in the museum where I played Pong, they had like from the very first home gaming console all the way up to the most recent one. And this was 2007.
Yeah.
So they had the NES in there. They had the Super Nintendo. They had the Sega Genesis. Like they had the Game Boys. They had the Ataris. Like they had everything. And I'm just like, this is 2007. I'm only like 24 years old and I feel so old. Now I'm 38, almost 39. I'm just like, fuck.
Well, if the pandemic had happened, like a bunch of us were going to go down in 2020 to Michigan just to like as a weekend away or whatever. And I was like, we need to go to the Ford Museum because it's really cool. And I was like, now I'm like, I'm afraid to go into that section to see. Like,
I'm just gonna cry.
Not only, so like I said, when I went in there in 2008, there was a 90s was where it ended. We are now in 2022. So there's probably a 2000 and a tens section.
Oh, ouch.
Right?
It just hurt my heart.
Right? I know.
I have such a growing old complex. It's not even funny.
Right? I know. It's starting to like my birthday was on the 6th and I turned 37 and it's like I was okay with turning 37, but now that I'm like some of these stupid little moments are coming out and I'm just like,
question.
All right, I'm getting older and older and older.
Do you consider 37 to be mid 30 or late 30?
I feel like 34 to 36 36 is maybe for sure mids. 37 is like
33
to
37. That 33 years old and the 37 years old. Is that early? Is it mid? Is it mid? Is it late? Like,
I feel like 33 is like early to mid. 37 is like mid to late. And then once you hit 38, you're late 30s.
I consider when I was those ages, I still considered 33 early 30s, and I considered 37 mid 30s, because I was absolutely refusing to be in my late 30s earlier than 38.
I'm like mid to late 30s. I'll say mid to
So
late.
I have only been in my late 30s for like 10 and a half months. Because my birthday's in a month and a half. So
I am in my mid to late 30s, but I also have no problem saying I'm 37 because it was hilarious. I went to the Value Buds the day before was it the day before or the day of my birthday? And I went in there and the girl's like, "Oh, can I see your ID?" And I was like, "Absolutely, you fucking can, because it's my 37th birthday." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, yeah, I'm glad you're asking for my ID, sweetie, because if you still think I'm 18. And then when I was at the gym, I was getting a shake at the shake bar or whatever, and I was just talking to the girl behind the counter, and she was like 25 or something like that or whatever, and we're just talking or whatever, and I'm like, "Yeah, my birthday's this weekend, I'm turning 37, and she's like, "Hold the phone, are you shitting me?" And I was like, "No, literally, like, I'm 85, born 85, like 37, and she's just like, "You look so good for your age." And I'm like, "It's because I don't have children. They didn't age me like 20 years.
I said the same thing. I said the same fucking thing. So this guy at my work, we were talking about age or something, and I asked him how old he was. He's like, "How old do you think I am?" And I was just like, "Oh, probably like maybe late 20s, early 30s." And he was 27 or whatever. He's like, "Why? How old are you?" I go, "How fucking dare you ask a woman that question?" And he's like, "Oh, fuck gender stereotypes. How fucking old are you?"
Right? True. It's
true. I was
true.
like, "Okay, then I'll answer." And I was like, "Well, I was like, I'll be 39 in July." He like gave me a look like, "Seriously? No, you're fucking not. Like, you're not, like, no." And I was like, "I know, I look fantastic for my age, don't I?" And he's like, "Yeah, you actually really do." He's like, "What's your secret?" And I was just like, "I didn't have my own children."
Yep. Literally. And it's not a bad way, but just unfortunately kids like those, you got to think the first year you're barely sleeping, you're stressed out.
It ages you because of what you have to go through to raise a baby. Yeah,
exactly. Like the first couple of years, like once it's the later years when they can talk and sort of communicate, it's a little easier, but those first
they get a little
bit
more independent. Yeah,
the first 2 years where they have to rely on you at all costs, like it's a lot of stress in those first 2 years, so it does instantly age you. And yes, us without children have a beautiful skin regimen.
Also, I moisturize.
Obviously, but you know. And I mean, if you look closer, you can see like my bags and my crow's feet.
My lines on my forehead.
A few lines here on my face.
That never used to be there.
This one right here. I get these ones apparently for some reason. But yeah. And then this one's from sleeping. Apparently, I somehow squish my face up like this a lot when I sleep. So I have this line. I don't know. I don't get it.
But like, cause like I saw someone's photo project they did of like pictures of before, because like when you were in your single and then after becoming parents, and it's only like a year or two difference, but like at like the after picture, you age so much in the first few years after becoming a new parent.
Yeah,
like
I know it seems like a weird mentality, but I just for some reason also in my head I feel like if you have kids you're just instantly an adult. And I know that's not the case. Like, no one is more of an adult than anyone or anything like that. But just for some reason in my weird mentality, because it's still that, I guess, that kid, like when you grow up, you have kids. And when you're a kid, you're an adult. Even though we're all adults by age, so it was funny because I'm like, I feel like they're more adult than us. And then I realized, no, they're actually younger than us. They're not.
They just happen to have kids.
They just happen to have kids.
And
like, that just makes me feel like you're adult. I'm not an adult.
Once again, relating it to How I Met Your Mother. So I watched this episode yesterday where they had their little wine party or whatever in the first season, and they asked about Marshall and Lily if they were gonna have house and kids, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna wait on the kids because like kids make you old. Like I love kids and everything, pudgy arms and stuff, but they make you old and they tie you down." Yeah. And that's great, fantastic if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to insult any parents out there that like, "Oh, you had kids, you're tied down, you can't be fun anymore." That's not what I'm saying at all. And just for those who choose to have children, just be prepared it does tie you down to
an extent,
life in a certain way.
Like you don't have, like
you can travel with your kids, like you can do all this with your kids.
Do some nights out that, like, if you get a babysitter and you want to do date night out and things, but it's not like you can just every Friday night your friend calls you, we're going to the bar tonight. Okay, drop a hat and go.
And
you have to have plans.
Yeah, like it's definitely harder to maintain a traveling lifestyle
unless you got the money. If you got the money, then it doesn't fucking matter, I guess.
Then you can bring your fucking nanny with you.
Look at Dex. He goes with Ryan and Char all the time everywhere, and
that's amazing,
right? Exactly. Like
what a great opportunity for him. He's already discovered the world, and he's only 11.
What great way to learn more about the world and cultures than being in a classroom is being in the place.
Exactly. Like he is more world traveled than I am, and he's 11.
I agree.
Like.
And so that, like, if you have the means,
he's 11,
right? If you have the means, then obviously your kid doesn't have to tie you down. Yeah. But if you don't have the means, then yes, sometimes it could tie you down. We're not saying it does, but it could. That's all.
Back to iPods. So, anything else? Any more interesting tidbits about iPods before we wrap this up?
So basically, my last note is kind of that, like I said, so I only really had an iPod Mini. I went to the Playground Inspection Company, and I used that forever. And then I bought myself a small iPod Shuffle that I was, again, trying to use at the gym. But other than that, those are the only, and I won an iPhone 3G when I was working at Rogers, but I had just bought a brand new BlackBerry like 2 weeks or like a week before. So I kept the iPhone, but I just never actually physically used it as an iPhone. And I used that actually as an MP3 player for a long time as well. I got the docking station for it and everything. But I noted here that basically for as long as, because I remember when I started working at what was my old current employer, Safety Clean, no longer there anymore. I remember when I started working there, I was using my BlackBerry with an extendable card as my mode of listening to music. And that was in 2012. So since 2012, I have not used really any iPod type thing because it's all been in my phone. And I think I got Spotify 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. The last time I used my iPod, I think was probably when I was working at Smoky Lake Inn in Smoky Lake in Alberta when we were living there in 2014.
Yeah.
And that was like because then like when we moved home and stuff, I think at that point was when music was more widely available on your phones. We were getting into smartphones, and
Songza was doing that playlist and it was free, and like Google Music was doing
Songza. I remember Songza. I
loved Songza. Songza was actually the reason I got Spotify, because I had Songza. I loved it. And then they discontinued it because Google Play bought it. We tried Google Play's version of Songza for a bit, wasn't the same. So then I found Spotify because it was more playlists, and then I've been on Spotify ever since. So that tells you how long I've been on Spotify, since Songza got discontinued.
I'm gonna have to try my Amazon Music sometime.
It's not too only because I have Songza. I never went into Amazon Music, but I'm sure it's probably just as good. And it's free with your Amazon subscription. So
I guess that covers everything about iPod and our end of an era.
The end of an era.
More than 2 decades with this product.
Right, like we said, life and
rise
and fall of.
Shall we make a bet to see how long it's going to be before they bring it back?
Right, like
they'll bring it back for the nostalgic.
Yes,
they'll bring it back for a limited amount of time. They'll bring back like the original look, but
5
thinner.
Years.
I say 5 to 10 at most.
5 years
before they bring back something nostalgic about
or there'll be some kind of weird iPod in the metaverse or something like that.
Yes,
this is the other thing. Yeah, the metaverse, because this is apparently what we're all in right now. So maybe there'll be some weird iPod nostalgia throwback in the metaverse or something like that.
Yeah,
who knows? Ooh, I also remember walking to Bluevale with the MP3 CD.
I would walk to the school. You come out of WCI, you hang right, walk down that road, and then you hang another right, and there's a school like right down there when I did my co-op. Winston Churchill. And I did my co-op there. Every day, the second Avril Lavigne album in my Discman.
Under My Skin?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I listen to like on a daily.
Yeah. Well, I loved the CD MP3 one because I could put like a bunch of them on the MP3 CDs if I wanted one of those. But if I wanted to have my other, my existing CDs, I could still use it.
And it was revolutionary when they came out with Anti-Shock, when it actually worked.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was a game changer.
Because I literally had to hold my Discman in my hand. I couldn't put it in my pocket. I had to hold it in my hand flat, or it wouldn't fucking play, or it would skip, or
And I always remember the safari van with that CD player that had the Princess Diary stickers on it, with
Same
Discman,
Discman.
with your
Computer
speakers.
Because my radio didn't work unless you hit the dash in certain combinations.
Those were the days. I remember that CD player with the Princess Diary stickers. And yeah, I always remember that. That was the greatest
hell yeah.
times.
Oh fuck yeah. Oh, so good.
See, guys, you will never understand what we had to go through.
Like, you're gonna have your own fun and you're gonna make your own memories in your own way of like your own time of you growing up. But
technology doesn't seem to be fail like we had, or things. I don't know.
It's the same way our parents pity us for not growing up in the 60s and 70s. And I totally agree. I would have loved to have been a teenager in the 60s and 70s. But I love growing up in
the 90s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because we had so much more, we did have more technology than the 60s, 70s, and less obviously than we do now. But I think it was a perfect balance.
But it was great. We had enough technology that, like, on a rainy day or a shitty day, we could keep ourselves inside. But when it was a sunny day, we were fucking outside.
Yep. We were outside at 8 a.m. Came home for snacks and lunch, went back out, did not come home till the streetlights came on. We weren't allowed to.
Oh, or like we could come home, but you had to stay on like the front lawn when the streetlights were on. You could still play outside, but you had to be like, because we had at ours, we were like so there was like a crescent that came up, and then our house was like on the street here.
Yeah.
So like we had one of those electrical boxes outside, so everyone would like kind of meet there and hang out in front of our houses at the electrical boxes, and we'd hang out there.
Not one injury was ever reported from hanging out on those green boxes, but yet all their parents were like, "You're gonna get killed. You're gonna get shocked by the electric voltage of that green box." Like, don't sit on it. Pretty sure we're good.
And yeah, literally that was the meetup point, was like the green boxes in your green electrical boxes in your neighborhood.
It was a great day to be alive.
Right? You had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So I guess on that note, so again, yeah, the end of an era for the iPods. Let us know what you had for an iPod. Any of that. What was your first one? What was your last one? What was your fun memories?
You ever had an Apple one? If you had one of the knockoffs?
Did you have a Zune? Were you one of those people? We know who you are.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So, yeah, on that, we are just gonna say hasta luego.
Yeah, and you can catch us on all of the normal places. We've got our normal bumper at the end, and I think by the time this comes out, I think maybe next week will be our 2 weeks.
Going wedding dress shopping today.
Yes, so we will have maybe some fun wedding stuff to talk about, maybe
tell you all about it.
Right? Maybe it'll bring up a millennial moment or something.
Yeah.
On that note, guys, we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yep. Enjoy your day, your weekend, whenever you're listening to this. Enjoy.
Catch us out, rate, review, subscribe to us, and you can catch us everywhere. And we love you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Out. Bye.
Mwah. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you liked it, be sure to check out our previous episodes on our website at www.millennialspod.com. And also, you can check them out on Spotify, Anchor, Google, or Apple Podcasts. While you're there, hit the follow and subscribe buttons so you can stay up to date on all of our latest episodes. Also, you can follow us on all of the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Turn of the Millennials Pod, and like us on Facebook to leave a comment and a review. We greatly appreciate it. We will see you next episode.